Marcus Thompson, a bright 17-year-old honors student, drives home from basketball practice on a quiet Tuesday evening. His phone buzzes with college acceptance letters he's eager to share with his parents. As he approaches a traffic light in an upscale neighborhood, flashing red and blue lights appear behind him. 3 officers approach his vehicle with inexplicable aggression. Despite Marcus's polite compliance, hands visible, registration ready, the situation escalates rapidly. Officer Brennan yanks the door open, demanding Marcus exit the vehicle. Confused and frightened, Marcus asks what he's done wrong. His questions are met with hostility. Within moments, Marcus finds himself face down on the cold pavement, his basketball scholarship dreams flashing before his eyes as handcuffs bite into his wrists. Neighbors peek through curtains but don't intervene. Marcus's heart pounds as he realizes this routine traffic stop has become something far more dangerous. "Hook, you think you can question us, kid?" Officer Brennan sneers, as Marcus tries to remember everything his father taught him about staying calm in moments like these. At the police station, Marcus is thrown into a cold interrogation room. Despite his repeated requests to contact his parents, the officers ignore him. Officer Brennan and his partners, Johnson and Martinez, fabricate a narrative, claiming Marcus was resisting arrest, behaving suspiciously, and fitting the description of a robbery suspect. Marcus's body aches from the rough treatment. His shirt is torn, and a bruise is forming on his cheek. He knows he's done nothing wrong, but fear grips him. These officers hold all the power, and they know it. For 3 hours, they interrogate him, trying to get him to sign a false confession. Marcus refuses, his mother's words echoing in his mind, "Always tell the truth, baby. Always." But the psychological pressure mounts. Officer Brennan leans in close, threatening to charge Marcus with assaulting an officer, a felony that would destroy his future. Finally, exhausted and terrified, Marcus makes a desperate request, "I want to call my father." "It's my right." "Hook." Officer Brennan smirks and tosses a phone onto the table. "Sure, kid. Call Daddy. See if he can save you now." With trembling fingers, Marcus dials his father's number. David Thompson answers on the second ring, his voice warm with concern. "Son, where are you? Your mother's been worried sick." "Dad." Marcus's voice cracks. "I'm at the precinct on 5th Street. They pulled me over and—" Officer Brennan snatches the phone. "Mr. Thompson, your son is in serious trouble. He assaulted 3 officers and—" "Put my son back on the phone. Now." David's voice has changed, no longer just a concerned father, but something more commanding. The officer hesitates at the tone, then reluctantly hands the phone back to Marcus. "Dad, I didn't do anything wrong. I swear. They hurt me and they're trying to make me sign something that's not true." "Listen carefully, Marcus," David says, his voice steady and strong. "Do not sign anything. Do not say another word without a lawyer present. I'm coming right now. Can you put the phone on speaker?" Marcus does. David's voice fills the room with authority. "To the officers present, I am David Thompson, Attorney General of this state. You are holding my son without proper cause, denying him his rights, and from what I'm hearing, have engaged in excessive force against a minor. I am 10 minutes away, and I'm bringing every resource of my office with me." Hook. The color drains from Officer Brennan's face as the reality of the situation crashes down on him. They've made a catastrophic mistake. The precinct erupts into controlled chaos. Sergeant Hayes, who'd been unaware of Marcus's detention, storms into the interrogation room after receiving an emergency call from the State Attorney General's office. His face reddens with fury when he sees Marcus's condition. "What have you idiots done?" Hayes hisses at Brennan, Johnson, and Martinez. "Do you have any idea who his father is?" Within minutes, the precinct is flooded with officials. David Thompson arrives with 2 assistant attorneys general, a civil rights investigator, and his personal legal team. He moves through the building like a force of nature, professional, controlled, but radiating barely contained rage. When David sees Marcus, his son's torn shirt and bruised face, something breaks inside him. But he doesn't explode. Instead, he kneels beside his son, embracing him gently. "I've got you, son. You're safe now." David turns to face the officers, his eyes cold as steel. "Sergeant Hayes, I want these officers placed on immediate suspension. I want the body camera footage preserved. I want every piece of documentation related to this stop. And I want a full medical examination for my son, documented by an independent physician. Officer Brennan attempts to defend himself, spinning his fabricated story. David listens silently, then produces his phone. Marcus, you were wearing your smartwatch tonight, correct? The one that records audio when you press the emergency button. Marcus nods, understanding flooding his eyes. His father had given him that watch last Christmas for exactly this reason. Hook, David's team downloads the audio file, and when they play it back, the truth becomes undeniable. Every word, every threat, every moment of the officer's abuse is captured in crystal clarity. The following morning, David calls a press conference. He stands at the podium with Marcus beside him, his son's visible injuries speaking louder than any words. News cameras flash as reporters lean forward, sensing a major story. Yesterday, my 17-year-old son, an honors student with no criminal record, was pulled over without cause, David begins, his voice measured but powerful. He was physically assaulted, illegally detained, denied his constitutional rights, and pressured to sign a false confession to crimes he did not commit. David pauses, letting the weight of his words settle. But this isn't just about my son. This is about every young person of color who faces this terror without a father in a position to demand justice. This is about systemic failures that allow such behavior to continue unchecked. He presents the audio evidence, the medical reports, and the complete lack of legitimate cause for the traffic stop. The evidence is damning. Social media explodes with support for Marcus and outrage at the officer's actions. Meanwhile, at the precinct, Internal Affairs launches a full investigation. As they dig deeper, a disturbing pattern emerges. Officers Brennan, Johnson, and Martinez have a history, complaints filed and quietly buried, settlements paid to previous victims, evidence of a culture of impunity. Community leaders rally around the Thompson family. Reverend Patricia Michaels, a longtime civil rights advocate, organizes peaceful demonstrations demanding accountability. The story goes national, sparking conversations about police reform, racial profiling, and the justice system's failures. But David isn't just seeking justice for Marcus, he's using his position to demand systemic change. He announces a comprehensive review of police practices across the state, mandatory body cameras for all officers, and enhanced training on civil rights and de-escalation. Hook, as momentum builds, the police union pushes back hard, threatening political retaliation against David. But Marcus, watching his father stand firm despite the pressure, finds his own voice and decides he wants to share his story publicly. Marcus appears on national television, speaking with remarkable composure for someone so young. He describes his terror during the encounter, his confusion about what he'd done wrong, and his despair when he thought no one would believe him. "I'm lucky," Marcus says, his voice steady. "My father has power and resources. But what about the countless others who don't? What about the young people whose calls for help are ignored? Their stories matter just as much as mine." His words resonate across the country. Students from his high school organize walkouts in solidarity. His basketball team wears special jerseys with "Justice for All" emblazoned across the back. College students on campuses nationwide hold vigils and forums discussing police accountability. The 3 officers are indicted on multiple charges: assault, falsifying evidence, civil rights violations, and conspiracy. Officer Brennan's lawyer attempts to paint Marcus as threatening, but the evidence, audio recordings, medical reports, and Marcus's spotless record demolishes their defense. Meanwhile, David works tirelessly on legislative reform. He partners with lawmakers from both parties who recognize the need for change. They draft the Marcus Thompson Act, comprehensive police reform legislation that includes mandatory psychological evaluations, stricter accountability measures, and independent oversight committees. However, not everyone supports the changes. David receives threats. Anonymous calls warn him to back down. Some accuse him of being anti-police, which couldn't be further from the truth. David has always supported law enforcement. His own brother is a police captain, but he knows that true support means holding bad actors accountable to protect the integrity of the profession. Through it all, Marcus watches his father navigate these challenges with grace and determination. He sees how David channels his anger into constructive action, how he builds coalitions instead of burning bridges, how he fights for justice without becoming consumed by hatred. Hook. On the eve of the officer's trial, Marcus receives a threatening letter at school, and the family must decide whether the fight for justice is worth the personal cost. The trial becomes a watershed moment. Prosecutors present overwhelming evidence of the officer's misconduct. Former colleagues testify about the toxic culture that enabled such behavior. Community members who'd suffered similar treatment come forward, their voices finally heard. Marcus takes the stand with quiet dignity. He recounts every moment of his ordeal, his voice never wavering. Under cross-examination, defense attorneys try to rattle him, but Marcus remains truthful and composed. When he describes hearing his father's voice on that phone call, the moment he knew he wasn't alone, there isn't a dry eye in the courtroom. The jury deliberates for just 6 hours. Guilty on all counts.